Hello and welcome everyone to the Maybe Muslim podcast. I'm Maryam Haider, producer and host of MBM, and I'm doing a special episode for International Women's Day, a little different from the usual MBM series. In this episode, I am in conversation with two members of the LedBy Foundation, India's first leadership incubator that focuses on the professional development of Muslim women. Deepanjali Lahiri is the Chief Operating Officer, and Fatema Chiba is the Program Manager at LedBy, which has been running training plus mentoring programs and fellowships to support young Muslim women in India enter entrepreneurial and corporate workspaces. In this episode, Deepanjali and Fatima talk about their personal and professional experiences that have shaped their understanding of the challenges that Muslim women face. Fatima highlights what growing up as the only Muslim student felt like and how working with an educational nonprofit enabled a closer understanding of the way caste, gender, and class barriers impact students' aspirations and professional outlooks. Deepanjali shares how she had not hired a single Muslim woman candidate in her years of working across IT, retail, and FMCG sectors, and the differences between multinationals and Indian companies when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also discussed the current state of Muslim women participation within India's formal and informal sectors, the challenges that structural inequities impose on women, and how diverse are the career needs and visions for Muslim women in urban versus rural parts. This MBM episode also offers a glimpse of the long journey that Indian workplaces have to make towards religious diversity, inclusion, and representation across all channels of management and leadership. Finally, we talk about Seattle becoming the first American city to add caste to its anti discrimination laws and if there is hope for similar changes within India in the coming times. Hi, Deepanjali. Hi, Fatima. It's very nice to have you on the Maybe Muslim podcast. How are you both doing?
Very good. Thank you for having us, Mariam.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm quite excited to have you both, and it's only because I have been following the work being done by Led by for a while now, and we are celebrating International Women's Day and Women's Month, so it just makes for the perfect reason to have both of you on this conversation and really talk about the experiences and the journeys you both have made as individuals that have kind of driven you to be a part of Led by and support its growth.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I mean, it's great that we have somebody who is an extension of the community doing this for us. So really lovely to be here.
So maybe we can start with just again talk about your personal or professional experience. And Dipanjali, we have briefly spoken about your own experience being in the industry for about 15 years, hiring people from all backgrounds. Can you maybe share a bit of that experience and then share your experience of working with LedBy?
Yeah, so I want to actually just go back to when I started off my career. So I had a really interesting career trajectory. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just figuring my way around for I think about the first 2 or 3 years of my career. And then I settled and was really happy doing a project management role. And I grew into that role in this very large multinational organization. And I decided that this is where I want to have my career. And I worked in these really large organizations with hundreds of thousands of employees. And it was great, and I was doing really well. But I remember every single day I used to come back and I used to either tell my family or my friends that, I'm not happy. I don't know why, but like something is missing and I don't know what it is. And anyway, that happened for about like 50, no, 13 years. And then COVID hit. And I said that the world is in turmoil. And if everything is changing, then I should change as well. And it was the worst time to actually leave my job, I remember, and everybody was against it. But I said that let me just drop and see what happens. What is the worst that is going to happen? And I said that let me move to social development because that seems to give people a lot of joy. And I'm sure that it would be a great opportunity for me, because now I've learned everything, and I want to see if I can contribute to another industry, because by then I had switched about three industries by then, three or four industries. And I said social development, I'm sure, is a place that I would be able to figure this out as well. So I took the plunge and I started developing networks. I didn't have anybody, I didn't know anyone, I didn't I had no connections, no networks. And I started meeting people, and I was speaking with multiple people. And then through all of that, I met Ruha, and I remember she was my 51st founder or organization that I had spoken to. And it really clicked. And I don't know what it was, but I remember through that conversation we began talking. And she said, why are you interested in this organization, and we work with Muslim women and all of that. And I said, why are you interested in speaking with me? I'm not a Muslim woman. um, but through that conversation, I remember chatting with her, and I told her, I said, hey, you know what, I said, I think, like, unconsciously, I'm really intrigued with what you do, because I don't have a Muslim friend at that point, 13 years into my career, and all of that. I didn't have a Muslim friend. I had worked with one Muslim colleague, and worst of all, I had hired no Muslim women, no Muslims. And for me, when I was chatting with Ruha, I remember, like, feeling really weird about it, and feeling this. I was embarrassed and also really surprised at myself. And I said, "What's going on?" I consider myself a really liberal person, and I come from a liberal background in education and family and everything. I said, "What's going on? There must be something wrong." So anyway, through that, I got the role, and I started working with Ruha. But I understand now why this role is additionally special for me, because I think it also represents a lot of what today's workforce industry is like. There are more people like me than there are, like, anybody from our community, from the LedBy community. And what does tend to happen is that we eventually hire people like us, which is why we see more women. Or firstly, we don't see more women, but if we do see more women, they're mostly from backgrounds like mine, pedigree like mine. Which is, I think, a problem, because then you're not truly being diverse, and diversity is a question that everybody is raising right now, and you're not being true to yourself. So I think that was what led me to LedBy, and that's why I'm still here. So it's a much larger problem that I'm trying to also work towards along with LedBy, and it also does give me a lot of personal joy as well.
Deepanjali, before I move Fatima to you, Deepanjali, I have a follow-up question, which is, can you define the pedigree that you come from?
Yeah. So I'm from a convent educated school. It was the best school in the city that I lived in. I studied a specialized college. I had a specialized college education, and it was from the best college for that particular course. And of course, that course had nothing to do with my career. So I studied hotel management. And it has nothing to do with business strategy or project management, but it still was a really good college. So that's the pedigree I mean. So I also do know what others look for in terms of pedigree. So when you look for somebody, when you're hiring somebody, and you look for, you can eliminate people's names and the cities that they're from, but when you look at their college, or when you look at companies that they work for, I mean, that's the pedigree that we're talking about. So